In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers nourished the Fertile Crescent, the city of Uruk stood as a testament to human ingenuity and ambition. Its towering walls, intricately carved, protected a thriving metropolis of merchants, artisans, and scholars. At its helm was Gilgamesh, a demigod king whose name resonated with power and legend. Born to a divine mother, the goddess Ninsun, and a mortal father, King Lugalbanda, Gilgamesh possessed an extraordinary lineage, 2/3 god and 1/3 human. This unique heritage gave him immense physical strength and an insatiable thirst for glory. His towering, godlike figure radiated authority and charisma, captivating all who encountered him. However, Gilgamesh's divine heritage also became his greatest challenge. The finite pleasures and fleeting triumphs of mortal life could not satisfy his desires. He yearned to surpass the limits of human existence and leave a legacy that would endure for eternity. Driven by this ambition, he embarked on a relentless quest for power and immortality. Under his rule, Uruk underwent a stunning transformation. With a vision of unmatched grandeur, Gilgamesh initiated ambitious projects that redefined human achievement. He ordered the construction of towering ziggurats, their spiraling steps reaching toward the heavens as if bridging the gap between the earthly and divine. He fortified the city's walls, making them impenetrable to invaders, and created lush gardens filled with exotic plants and fragrant flowers, flourishing defiantly under the harsh desert sun. Inspired by their king's vision, the people of Uruk worked tirelessly to bring his grand designs to life. Yet as Uruk's splendor grew, so did the strain on its people. Gilgamesh's demands became increasingly burdensome, and his ambition blinded him to their suffering. The once vibrant city began to falter under the weight of his relentless pursuit of glory. Concerned by his excesses, the gods, who had gifted Gilgamesh extraordinary abilities, feared he would disrupt the delicate balance between the mortal and divine realms. To humble him and teach him the value of restraint, they created a wild man from the clay of the earth, Enkidu. Enkidu, untamed and unburdened by the complexities of civilization, roamed the wilderness, living among animals and sharing their primal instincts. His strength rivaled that of Gilgamesh, but his heart remained pure, untouched by the corrupting influence of power. Guided by nature's rhythms and the wisdom of the wild, he embodied the spirit of freedom and simplicity. A hunter, troubled by Enkidu's disruption of his traps, sought advice from a wise temple priestess named Shamhat. Recognizing divine intervention, Shamhat saw in Enkidu the potential to challenge Gilgamesh's dominance and restore balance to the kingdom. Renowned for her beauty and wisdom, Shamhat ventured into the wilderness to meet Enkidu. With patience and compassion, she introduced him to the ways of humanity, sharing the joys of love, the comforts of clothing, and the nourishment of cooked food. Enkidu, captivated by Shamhat's teachings, embraced his newfound humanity. However, in doing so, he gradually relinquished some of his raw strength and his deep connection to the natural world, a sacrifice demanded by the unyielding advance of civilization. Seizing the moment, the hunter lured Enkidu to the bustling city of Uruk. News of this wild man's arrival quickly reached Gilgamesh, sparking both curiosity and a sense of foreboding. The two were destined to meet, their encounter symbolizing the eternal struggle between nature and civilization, ambition and contentment, the wild and the tamed. Word of Enkidu spread like wildfire through Uruk's streets. The people, weary of Gilgamesh's oppressive rule, saw in Enkidu a glimmer of hope. They whispered of his immense strength, his untamed spirit, and his connection to the natural world, believing he was destined to challenge the king and break the chains of tyranny that had bound them for so long. Gilgamesh, intrigued by the tales of this formidable stranger, eagerly awaited their meeting. Enkidu reminded him of his own untamed youth and the primal instincts he had suppressed in his relentless quest for power and glory. He sensed that their encounter would be a defining moment, a clash that would shake the foundations of Uruk. Fate brought them together in the heart of the city near the sacred temple of Ishtar, the goddess of love and war. As they locked eyes, the air was thick with anticipation. Their gazes, filled with curiosity, defiance, and a primal recognition of shared strength, set the stage for an epic battle. The fight that followed was nothing short of monumental. Gilgamesh, driven by his thirst for dominance, unleashed a flurry of powerful blows. Enkidu, drawing upon his deep connection to the earth and its creatures, countered with ferocious intensity. The ground trembled beneath them, buildings shook and terrified citizens scattered. The clash of their fists echoed through the streets, a symphony of raw power and unrestrained aggression. They grappled and wrestled, their bodies locked in fierce combat. Gilgamesh, relying on his divine heritage, seemed to gain the upper hand with precise, powerful strikes. Yet Enkidu, fueled by primal instincts and unwavering determination, refused to yield. As the battle raged, a remarkable transformation began. Hostility gave way to a grudging respect. Gilgamesh, accustomed to effortless victories, found himself matched blow for blow. Enkidu, never before encountering such power, recognized a kindred spirit in Gilgamesh, a fellow traveler on the journey of self-discovery. In the end, neither emerged victorious. Exhausted but exhilarated, they collapsed to the ground, their bodies intertwined in sweat and dust. As they lay, catching their breath, a silent understanding passed between them. Each saw in the other a reflection of their strengths, weaknesses, aspirations, and fears. In that moment, a bond was forged, a brotherhood born of mutual respect and shared experience. Humbled by the encounter, Gilgamesh extended his hand to Enkidu. The wild man, moved by the gesture of reconciliation, accepted without hesitation. From that day forward, the two were inseparable, roaming the streets of Uruk together. Their laughter echoed through the once quiet alleyways as they shared stories of past exploits, dreams for the future, and their deepest fears and anxieties. They challenged one another, pushed each other to their limits, and celebrated each other's victories. Their friendship became a beacon of hope for the people of Uruk, who saw in Gilgamesh and Enkidu a new model of leadership, one built on mutual respect, cooperation, and a shared commitment to the community's welfare. The once tyrannical king softened his harsh rule, heeding the counsel of his newfound friend and listening to the pleas of his subjects. Together they embarked on daring adventures that became the stuff of legend. They ventured into the depths of the cedar forest to face the fearsome guardian Humbaba, resisted the wrath of the goddess Ishtar, who sought to ensnare Gilgamesh with her seductive allure, and grappled with profound questions of life, death, and the elusive search for immortality. The air was thick with the scent of cedar, a blend of resinous sweetness and ancient power. Gilgamesh and Enkidu stood at the edge of the forbidding forest, its towering trees casting long, shifting shadows in the dim light. Mist shrouded the path ahead, obscuring the unknown dangers awaiting them. Enkidu, attuned to the rhythms of nature, felt a tremor of unease. He understood that the cedar forest was not merely a cluster of trees, but a living entity imbued with divine spirit and ancient wisdom, a place where mortals had to tread cautiously to avoid the wrath of its fearsome guardian, Humbaba. Gilgamesh, however, remained resolute. His heart burned with ambition, his mind consumed by visions of the magnificent gate he planned to build from the sacred cedar wood. To him, this quest was not a desecration, but a tribute to the gods, a testament to his power and ingenuity. They ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, their footsteps muffled by the thick carpet of needles covering the ground. The trees grew taller and denser with each step, their branches forming an interwoven canopy that blocked out the sun. The air turned oppressive, the silence broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant call of an unseen bird. As they pressed on, they faced a series of trials that tested their courage and resolve. Venomous snakes slithered through the undergrowth, their fangs dripping with poison. Ferocious beasts with glowing, predatory eyes stalked them from the shadows. Thorny thickets tore at their skin, leaving bloody trails in their wake. Yet, Gilgamesh and Enkidu met each challenge with unwavering determination. They fought off the beasts with swords and spears, used their knowledge of herbs and antidotes to counter the snake's venom, bandaged their wounds, and pressed forward. Throughout their journey, their friendship was their source of strength. Gilgamesh, once accustomed to solitude and self-reliance, learned to trust Enkidu's instincts and depend on his knowledge of nature. Enkidu, who had always lived a solitary life, found comfort in Gilgamesh's steadfast loyalty and unwavering belief in their shared destiny. Their conversations, once dominated by boasts and challenges, evolved into profound reflections on life, death, and the essence of existence. They shared their dreams and fears, their regrets and aspirations, and their mutual longing to leave a lasting legacy. In each other's company, they found comfort, their bond deepening with every passing moment. As they neared the heart of the cedar forest, Humbaba's presence became more palpable. The very air seemed charged with a foreboding energy, and the trees whispered warnings carried by the wind. They knew the final confrontation was close, a battle that would determine not only the outcome of their quest, but also the endurance of their friendship. The heart of the cedar forest was unlike any place they had ever encountered. Sunlight barely penetrated the thick canopy, leaving the forest floor shrouded in eternal twilight. The air was thick with the scent of resin and the murmurs of ancient spirits. Standing on the threshold of Humbaba's domain, the earth itself seemed to quake in anticipation. From the shadows emerged Humbaba, the monstrous guardian appointed by the god Enlil. His grotesque form was a blend of man and tree, his face a warped mask of bark and moss, and his eyes glowing with an eerie emerald fire. Each thunderous step he took shook the ground, and even the trees seemed to shrink away in fear.
Undaunted, Gilgamesh and Enkidu drew their weapons. They had come too far and sacrificed too much to retreat now. The promise of glory and the immortal fame that would come with defeating Humbaba burned fiercely within them. The ensuing battle was a titanic clash. Humbaba, wielding the forest's own powers, unleashed a relentless barrage of attacks. Storms of razor-sharp leaves, whirlwinds threatening to tear the heroes apart, and fissures in the earth that sought to consume them. Yet Gilgamesh and Enkidu, united in purpose, fought back with ferocity. Gilgamesh's divine axe bit into Humbaba's bark-like flesh, while Enkidu's spear, sharp and precise, found its mark in the guardian's vulnerable spots. The forest became a whirlwind of chaos, the clash of steel against wood, Humbaba's monstrous roars, and the defiant cries of the heroes filled the air. Drawing on his divine strength, Gilgamesh delivered blow after devastating blow, gradually weakening Humbaba. Enkidu, using his hunter's instincts, exploited the monster's blind spots, striking wounds that further drained his power. As Humbaba's strength waned, his attacks grew more frenzied. He spewed torrents of venomous bile and summoned swarms of stinging insects, their bites causing searing pain. Yet Gilgamesh and Enkidu, driven by sheer willpower, endured the onslaught. Finally, with a resounding roar, Humbaba fell, his massive body shaking the ground. The forest grew silent, save for the labored breaths of the victorious heroes. Bloodied and battered, they stood triumphant, their spirits soaring. Their victory, however, was short-lived. As they emerged from the cedar forest, laden with their prized cedarwood, they encountered a new threat. Ishtar, the goddess of love and war, was captivated by Gilgamesh's beauty and strength. She proposed marriage, promising him wealth, power, and eternal devotion. But Gilgamesh, aware of Ishtar's capricious nature and her history of ruining those who rejected her, spurned her offer. Enraged by his refusal, Ishtar unleashed the Bull of Heaven, a monstrous being whose presence brought drought and famine to the land. Once again, Gilgamesh and Enkidu rose to defend their city, battling the beast with their characteristic bravery. After a fierce struggle, they managed to slay the bull, its massive body collapsing and its horns splintering into countless fragments. Ishtar, humiliated and furious, sought vengeance. She cursed Enkidu, afflicting him with a wasting disease that gradually drained his strength and vitality. The once mighty wild man was reduced to a shadow of himself, his body ravaged by pain, his spirit shattered. Gilgamesh was devastated by the suffering of his dear friend Enkidu, watching helplessly as his life faded away.
Ishtar's curse had not only claimed Enkidu's vitality, but also severed the bond they shared, leaving Gilgamesh to confront the harsh reality of mortality and the unbearable weight of loss. The once invincible king now found himself overwhelmed by grief and a deep, gnawing fear of his own inevitable death. Enkidu's death shattered Gilgamesh's world, forcing him to confront the frailty of human existence. He saw in his friend's fate a reflection of his own, a chilling reminder that even the mightiest heroes could not escape the ravages of time. The realization that death was an inescapable part of life filled him with despair and ignited a desperate longing for immortality. Determined to overcome his fate, Gilgamesh embarked on a perilous journey to discover the secret of eternal life. His quest took him to the ends of the earth, where he sought out Utnapishtim, the wise sage who had survived the great flood and was granted immortality by the gods. Gilgamesh braved treacherous mountains, endured the scorching heat of desolate deserts, and navigated through dark, foreboding forests. His resolve never wavered, and his determination burned brighter with each challenge he faced. Finally, after an arduous journey, Gilgamesh reached the shores of the waters of death. There he met Urshanabi, the ferryman, who reluctantly agreed to guide him across the treacherous waters to the hidden island where Utnapishtim resided. When he finally stood before the sage, Gilgamesh poured out his anguish, recounting the trials he had endured, the friends he had lost, and the relentless fear that haunted him. Utnapishtim, his eyes reflecting the wisdom of countless lifetimes, listened intently to Gilgamesh's plea. He spoke not with promises of eternal life, but with profound truths about the nature of existence. He explained that immortality was not a gift freely given, but a heavy burden reserved for the gods and those chosen under extraordinary circumstances. He challenged Gilgamesh to face his fears, accept the limitations of mortal life, and find meaning in the fleeting yet precious moments it offered. To illustrate his point, Utnapishtim shared the story of the Great Flood, a divine cataclysm that wiped out most of humanity. He revealed how the gods had chosen him to preserve life by building an ark, ensuring humanity's survival. However, he also emphasized that the flood had been a singular event, never to be repeated. His words carried a sobering truth. Immortality was not the answer to life's uncertainties. Despite this wisdom, Gilgamesh pleaded for another way to escape death's grasp. Moved by the king's desperation, Utnapishtim offered him one final challenge.
He told Gilgamesh of a magical plant, the plant of youth, which grew at the bottom of the sea. If Gilgamesh could retrieve it and consume it, he would be granted a temporary reprieve from death and regain his youthful vigor. Renewed with hope, Gilgamesh dove into the depths of the sea. He battled fierce currents, evaded monstrous sea creatures, and endured the crushing pressure of the deep. His strength and determination were tested to their limits, but at last he grasped the precious plant, its luminous leaves radiating a mystical glow. Emerging from the depths, triumphant, Gilgamesh felt the thrill of victory. However, his triumph was short-lived. On his journey back to Uruk, weariness overtook him, and he stopped to rest by a cool spring. Unbeknownst to him, a serpent, drawn by the plant's fragrance, slithered from the undergrowth and consumed it. The creature shed its skin and renewed its life, leaving Gilgamesh to awaken to a cruel reality. The plant, his one hope for defying death, was gone. Overcome with despair, Gilgamesh was forced to confront the futility of his quest. He had journeyed to the ends of the earth, faced unimaginable trials, and come so close to achieving his goal, only to lose it all in an instant. Broken and defeated, he returned to Uruk, burdened by the weight of his mortality. Yet, as he gazed upon his city, the towering walls, the lush gardens, and the thriving life within Gilgamesh found a new perspective. He realized that his legacy, the works of his hands, and the stories of his deeds would endure long after he was gone. Though he had not achieved immortality, he had created something lasting, something that would inspire and uplift future generations. In the end, Gilgamesh discovered that the true measure of life was not its length, but its depth. It lay in the impact one left on the world, the love and friendships nurtured, and the courage to face the fleeting nature of existence. Accepting his mortality, Gilgamesh found solace in the knowledge that his life had meaning, and that meaning would echo through time long after he was no more.